What if I told you that constant anxiety isn't a personality trait, but just a bad habit? A habit of thinking in a certain way. And like any habit, it can be broken. Today, we're not going to talk about magic pills or complicated meditations. Instead, we'll discuss 10 thought viruses that poison your mind and make your heart race. And I promise you'll be surprised to learn that the key to calmness has been in your hands all along. Let's be clear, right from the start. Feeling anxious is perfectly normal. It's an ancient survival mechanism passed down from our ancestors. Imagine your anxiety is an overly sensitive smoke alarm. It's supposed to go off when there's a real fire, but instead it blares because of burnt toast. Our goal today isn't to break the alarm, but to properly recalibrate it. We'll learn to distinguish between a genuine threat and burnt breakfast in our minds. So here's our first mental trap. Did you know your brain is a brilliant but incredibly pessimistic horror movie screenwriter? And guess who always plays the starring role? You. Its favourite trick, the one that kicks off every single thriller, is that classic question. What if? That little phrase acts like a trigger for anxiety. What if I bomb the presentation? What if they don't like me? What if I make a huge mistake and everyone notices? Sound familiar? Each one of those questions is a one-way ticket down the rabbit hole of negative fantasies. One thought latches onto another, and before you know it, you're mentally living through a full-blown catastrophe that exists only in your imagination. Your brain genuinely believes that by replaying these worst-case scenarios, it's actually protecting you, getting you ready for potential danger. But here's the paradox. This very protection is often the biggest danger of all. It poisons your present moment with anxiety about a future that, most likely, will never even come to pass. You have to admit, this internal screenwriter sometimes gets a little too carried away. We often think we need to fight these scenarios, but the real secret lies elsewhere, and it's surprisingly simple. And here's the second mistake, one that turns you into a real superhero, though with one very harmful superpower, the ability to read minds. Or so you think. You look at someone and you just know exactly what they're thinking. And by a strange coincidence, it's always something negative about you. This is the mind-reading trap. Here's a classic scenario. A friend doesn't reply to your message right away. Your brain instantly delivers a verdict. They're mad at me. I must have said something wrong. Our relationship is ruined. The spiral begins. You start rereading the conversation, analysing every word, and finding more and more evidence of your guilt. Now let's hit pause. What's the reality? The truth is, you're not a telepath. And that truth is incredibly liberating. Maybe your friend was just driving. Maybe their phone died. Or they were in a meeting. Their universe, believe it or not, doesn't always revolve around you and your messages. By trying to guess what others are thinking, we waste a tremendous amount of energy fighting battles against ghosts of our own creation. It's like playing chess against yourself and still managing to lose. We're willing to believe in the most elaborate conspiracy just to avoid admitting the simplest truth. We simply don't know, and that's perfectly okay. Let's move on to our third point. Deep inside your mind, there's a small, yet incredibly strict tyrant. Its most potent weapon is just one word, but it strikes harder than any whip. That word is must. I must be more productive. I must look better. I must earn more. I must not be lazy. Does that sound like your own inner voice? Every single one of these musts is an invisible chain you willingly fasten around yourself. It's a set of rules you've written for yourself, rules that are impossible to truly live by. This cultivates a constant underlying sense of guilt. You feel perpetually inadequate, always falling short of some mythical ideal you yourself conjured up. It's like setting a 3-meter high jump bar for yourself and then feeling frustrated daily because you can't clear it. But here's the crucial question to ask yourself. Who set that bar in the first place? Who authored this rule book? The answer is almost always the same. You did. And that means you have every right to rewrite those rules. Share in the comments. What's the cruelest I must you tell yourself? I'm curious to see if our internal tyrants match up. Now let's talk about a game beloved by perfectionists. It's called all or nothing. The rules are simple. You either achieve 100% success or experience a spectacular failure. No grey areas, no consolation prizes. That's black and white thinking. In your mind, the world is neatly divided into two parts, perfect or terrible, good or bad, victory or defeat. Here's how it works in real life. You decide to eat healthy. All week long, you stick to your plan perfectly, but then on Friday evening, you eat one single pastry. What does black and white thinking tell you? It says, that's it. The diet's ruined. No point continuing. You might as well order a pizza. One small mistake completely wipes out all your previous achievements. This approach turns life into a minefield. You're terrified of making a single misstep because in your worldview, that step leads straight into an abyss. This creates immense pressure. You don't allow yourself the right to make mistakes, and therefore the right to be human. Life isn't a pass or fail exam. It's a process full of nuances, trials, and of course, mistakes. Think about how often you've written off an entire day, a project, or even a relationship, all because of one imperfection. The next mental trap is called overgeneralization. It acts like a magnifying glass, blowing a small setback into a sweeping life pattern. Imagine you go to a job interview and don't get the job. It's a common situation, happens to everyone. But a mind prone to overgeneralization will interpret this very differently. Instead of thinking, this wasn't my time, I'll try again, it declares, I'm a useless professional, I'll never find a good job. Feel the difference? A single failure suddenly becomes a lifelong sentence. One negative experience is inflated into an absolute truth. If a partner breaks up with you, it transforms into, no one will ever love me. If you make a mistake on a report, it becomes, I always mess everything up. This habit is incredibly insidious. You take an isolated negative incident and use it to paint your entire future. It's like getting your feet wet once in the rain and concluding that you'll be walking with wet feet for the rest of your life. You create a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're convinced you'll always fail, you'll behave accordingly. Less confidently, with more fear, thereby increasing your chances of failure. It's a vicious cycle you create for yourself, simply by misinterpreting one single episode. The sixth trap is the Atlas complex. Remember the myth of the Titan who bore the weight of the heavens on his shoulders? That's precisely what happens to people who tend to personalize everything. They shoulder the blame for absolutely everything around them, especially if it's bad news. Your boss comes to work in a bad mood. What does the mind caught in this trap immediately jump to? It must be because of my report yesterday. I disappointed him. Your child gets a bad grade at school. I'm a bad mother. I didn't help him enough. A party falls flat. It's my fault. I'm a terrible organizer. You take on the weight of responsibility for other people's emotions, decisions, and even pure chance. You genuinely believe you're at the center of the universe, and everything that happens, or doesn't happen, is a direct result of your actions or inactions. This isn't just exhausting. It creates an overwhelming sense of guilt and anxiety, because if you're to blame for everything, you feel an immense pressure to fix everything, which of course is impossible. The truth is, you are not responsible for the moods, choices, or actions of other adults. You don't control the weather or the global economy. Releasing this illusion of omnipotence means shedding an incredibly heavy burden. This isn't selfishness. It's common sense that helps you conserve your energy for what you truly can control, your own reactions. Let's talk about your personal time machine, or more accurately, that crystal ball you're constantly peering into. This habit is often called future gazing, or, as psychologists term it, catastrophizing. You don't just think about the future, you already know it's going to be awful. Period. An important call is coming up. What does your inner fortune teller say? Not, I'm a little nervous, but I'll handle it. Instead, It's, I'm definitely going to say something dumb, trip over my words and they'll think I'm an idiot. You're about to go on a date and you can already see it being awkward. The person won't like you, and the evening ending in a total disaster. You haven't even left the house yet, but you've already experienced the full spectrum of negative emotions for an event that exists only in your head. It's like watching a horror movie where you're the main character and you know a killer is waiting behind the next door. You're forcing your body to react to a threat that isn't even real. Your heart pounds, your palms sweat, your thoughts get muddled. You're living through the stress of failure without even attempting to succeed. And the most ironic part is that by setting yourself up this way, you actually increase your chances of failure. After all, going into an exam convinced you'll flunk, it is already half the battle lost. Wouldn't you agree? The eighth cognitive bias is one of the most insidious, precisely because it often disguises itself as intuition. It's called emotional reasoning, and its motto is simple: if I feel it, it must be true. Imagine you're on a plane experiencing turbulence. You feel terrified, and your brain immediately jumps to a conclusion. Since I'm scared, the plane must be falling, and we're about to crash. You're not relying on statistics, the pilot's reassurances, or the laws of physics. Instead, you're relying solely on your intense feeling of fear. Or take another example. You're preparing for a presentation and feeling incredibly anxious. The conclusion? I feel stupid, so my presentation will be stupid, and I'll look like an idiot. You're not evaluating the content of your speech or recalling all your meticulous preparation. Instead, you're simply equating your fleeting emotional state with objective reality. This is a massive trap. Your feelings are not facts. They are merely chemical reactions in your body, often triggered by your thoughts. They can feel incredibly powerful and convincing, but they often mislead you. Trusting your feelings 100% is like trying to tell the exact time with a clock that's constantly running fast or slow. You're mistaking a temporary emotional state for a permanent characteristic of yourself or the world. And this ultimately leads you to avoid situations that could actually be safe and even incredibly beneficial. The ninth mental infection is labeling. This isn't just an overgeneralization. It's one that's escalated to a new, more personal level. Instead of simply drawing a global conclusion from a single situation, you take that conclusion and morph it into a rigid, indelible label that you then stick on yourself or others. For instance, imagine you make a mistake at work. Instead of thinking, I made a mistake this time, I need to be more careful, you immediately condemn yourself with, I'm a failure. You didn't just experience a failure, you became a failure. Do you feel how toxic that is? Or perhaps a colleague forgets to send you a crucial document. Instead of thinking, they forgot, it happens, you immediately slap a label on them. They're irresponsible. And now every subsequent action of theirs will be viewed through the lens of that label, as you actively seek confirmation for it. These labels are mental shortcuts that prevent us from seeing a reality as it truly is. They turn living, multifaceted individuals, including ourselves, into flat, cardboard cutouts. Things like failure, stupid, anxious, lazy. Once you've stuck a label like that on yourself, you often begin to live up to it. It becomes part of your identity, a self-fulfilling prophecy, and shedding such a label, especially when it's one you've placed on yourself, can be incredibly difficult. And finally, our 10th point, a concept that underpins so many other anxieties, the illusion of control. It's the deep, irrational conviction that for true peace and happiness, you must control absolutely everything around you. You try to control the weather by meticulously planning the perfect picnic. You try to control traffic by leaving 5 minutes early. You try to control the thoughts and feelings of others by carefully choosing the perfect words. You try to control the future by calculating every single possible scenario. But here's the brutal truth. Most of life is simply beyond our control. And the tighter you try to hold the reins, the more fiercely life rips them away. This relentless struggle with reality is utterly draining. It creates endless tension because you're making your peace of mind dependent on what is fundamentally beyond your grasp. The irony is that true tranquility doesn't arrive when you manage to control everything, but when you embrace the fact that you can't control everything. It comes when you release that need and focus on the only thing truly within your power, your own choices, your reactions to uncontrollable events. This isn't surrender. It's the highest form of wisdom and the most direct path to genuine inner peace. And now, for the most crucial part, a revelation you might not have seen coming. All 10 of these thoughts are united by one major illusion. We often believe anxiety is a direct response to external events, our job, relationships, or even global news. But that's simply not true. The real plot twist is this. Anxiety isn't what happens to you. It's what you tell yourself about what's happening. It's not the event itself that causes fear, but your interpretation of it. A challenging project doesn't make you panic. The thought, "I can't cope with this," does. Your partner's silence doesn't wound you. The thought, "They don't love me anymore," does. The prison of anxiety isn't built from external circumstances. It's constructed from our own thoughts. And this is actually the best news you could hear. Because if you built this prison yourself, then only you hold the key to unlock it. By realizing the root of the problem isn't in the world, but in your own mind, you stop being a victim of circumstance and become the master of your own emotional state. You gain the power to choose how you react. You can catch these thought viruses and replace them with healthier, more realistic ones. This is the real path to freedom from anxiety. Thanks for watching this video all the way through. If you found this helpful and recognized even one of your own unhelpful thought patterns, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos. Now, a question for you. Which of these 10 thought traps resonates with you the most? Share your experience in the comments below, and let's discuss it together.